Have you ever had a dream where you felt as though you were the observer of the dream, that you weren't actually an active part in the dream? All of this started at the level of the mind. It was a projection of the level of the mind. Literally a projection. Welcome back to one's journey of unwinding the mind and, of course, your daily microdose. Now tune in to the latest episode of One's Journey. Today I want to talk about projection. So essentially, projection makes perception. So stay tuned. There will be another video after this all about perception. But projection, according to the Course in Miracles, we look inside first, decide the kind of world we want to see, and then project the world outside, making it truth as we see it. If you're really struggling with that statement, which often many of us do because it's hard to wrap our brain around. Our mind understands, but it's hard to wrap our brain around. But you are the dreamer. The mind is the dreamer of this dream. If you think of yourself last night in bed and you are having a dream, it's not, and let's say you dream that I'm there and your friend Susie's there and there's a car there and there's a whale there. It's not that all of these entities came and entered into your dream. It's that, in fact, you created them all in your mind. You are the dreamer of the dream. An example as well, I was talking to a client the other day and she had a dream about LGBTQ plus and was like kind of thinking about why that came about. And then she remembered at work, they had just created stickers because it's Pride Month. And so there was a lot of discussion about Pride and about the LGBTQ plus community. And she's like, oh, that makes sense. Well, because it was in her subconscious, then she projected it into her dream. As we've talked before, that this is a dream. We are dreaming. The mind, the collective mind, meaning the one mind here that is projected into many, is the dreamer of the dream. And we all have access to that mind because we're not actually in the dream. Back to projection. Projection is the act of the ego. Projection is that separation, the suffering, the sacrifice. All of that is what occurs in this projected illusion because it's reiterating what is going on in the mind. And in the mind is that shame and guilt of what we believe was the initial separation, which never occurred, remember. But so it's almost like it was so strong, we had to project it out. So then it no longer was ours. So how this happens day to day is, I've used this example before, but let's say you're having a bad morning and you're running late and you're in traffic and someone cuts you off. You cuss them out. You get angry at them. You're pissed off. Now you're running late because of them. That's you taking something that was inside of you and projecting it out on them, so then you no longer have to take responsibility for it. Because in fact, if that morning you would have been having a great morning, you've been running early, all of the above, you would have not gotten angry when that person cut you off. You would have not blamed your lateness on them because you wouldn't have been late. You still would have been on time. That is a direct representation of projection. That is why everyone is a mirror for us, because we are projecting our own inner dialogue out on them and they are becoming a mirror for us. That is coming from the ego belief system. But when we move from the ego belief system into the belief system of the Holy Spirit and seen through the Holy Spirit's lens, the Holy Spirit extends. It knows there is no separation. It knows we all are one. There is no need to project because we all are abundant in one in love. And we don't carry that shame and guilt. We don't carry that pain and anger and suffering because the Holy Spirit knows none of that actually exists and knows that that is only a representation of what is being projected in this illusion due to that one tiny mad idea we had that caused this entire illusion. What you project and what is being projected is what you are disowning within yourself. Let me say that again. What you project, then you disown and believe it to not be yours. It's someone else's. It's them. Do you ever see someone wearing an outfit and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're wearing that? That's a projection of your own belief system within you. Has nothing to do with them and everything to do with you. Another example is, say you're walking down the street. I use this a lot. And you look exactly the way you do and you don't have pink hair, but someone goes, hey, that pink hair looks ugly. I hate your pink hair. And you're like, okay, I don't have pink hair, whatever. It doesn't impact you. But if in fact they said that, and you had pink hair and you had a little inkling that you didn't like your pink hair, you would project it back on them and see it as attack, first of all. But you would project your anger out on them, or your insecurity, your unsureness about your own pink hair because they brought it to your attention. Again, projection makes perception, because the projection is what creates this illusion. It first went into the mind. The mind decided what needed to be projected and then projected it out. And that's also how you can begin to change what you are experiencing, is by going to the level of the mind and choosing a different projection, choosing a place of the Holy Spirit instead of the ego, and instead projecting oneness, projecting the oneness and the extension, and instead of the separation and the pain and the suffering. Remember, the Holy Spirit's belief system extends. The ego's projects. The Holy Spirit sees the truth in the other minds, as well as it's able to see it despite what is being projected through the ego. And when we talk in the perception video, I'll give a little key there. Perception then is the body's interaction with what has been projected. The way in which the body interacts with the projection that, again, started at the level of the mind. All of this started at the level of the mind. It was a projection of the level of the mind. Literally a projection. I have a painting that has the being and then the choice of the Holy Spirit's belief system or the ego belief system, and then a picture of a projector, and then what we see in this illusion. Because that is what the projection is. Also, oftentimes, I focus a lot on inner child work, and that has evolved as to what that looks like over the time. But often what we tend to project is we may have had the most beautiful childhood ever. And when we get older and we start to have these behaviors and these things we don't like about ourselves, we then project it as to our childhood, that we had a bad childhood, that it's because of our childhood. Because we are so used to, that's how we ended up here, when things are uncomfortable, when it's hard to take responsibility, to project it outside of us, to blame something else, to create an illusion outside of us that makes us feel as though it is not our fault. That's what we did, because in order to find our way back home, we would actually have to take radical self-acceptance and ownership that, in fact, we have created all of this. This is our projection out of the shame and guilt of the tiny mad idea that never even happened. But that shame and guilt is so strong, and what it is tied to in our subconscious, instead it is so much easier to continuously project and experience the pain and the suffering over and over again that we believe we experienced in the beginning. Again, projection is, you are the dreamer. Think of yourself when you're dreaming. It's not like I came to your house and went in your head into your dream. You projected that into your dream. And a lot of times it has to do with what your waking days have been happening. You'll see correlations of the people that show up, of the places that show up, that the topics that show up. Well, in fact, this is a dream. So in fact, the mind is projecting this, which you are of the mind. The mind is one, and you are projected into many, so you are a projection of the mind. And in fact, you are not that. You are the mind. I feel as though I'm experiencing this dream through the eyes of Ashley. But in fact, I'm the dreamer of the dream. And that goes the same for you. Have you ever had a dream where you felt as though you were the observer of the dream, that you weren't actually an active part in the dream? Guess what? That's what you are. It's just right now you really feel like you're this active part in the dream when in fact you're the dreamer and you're projecting this out. So it's getting back to that understanding of all of this is a projection and a reminder of the initial separation. And the projection is meant to reiterate to you the pain and suffering from that initial separation. So everything is a projection of separation and suffering and loss and pain solely to make us feel separated from everything else. When in fact, we are literally one with everything else. I know this is a topic that we will discuss over and over again because there's multiple levels of deepening understanding of the projection. Stay tuned for the video on perception because, again, projection makes perception. It's really important to understand that, and it's really important to understand how they interact with one another and how we can move from the ego to the Holy Spirit within that and to be able to project and perceive at a different level. And remember, you are worth it. And until next time, I love you tons.